Good afternoon once again. It is time for Random Modules in VCV Rack, Episode 4. The premise is I get a random assortment of VCV Rack modules and I try to figure out what they do and make a patch out of them and learn along the way. And I'm changing the format again slightly, so I'm having 4 random modules instead of 2, and I can't add one of my choice. I just have to use the 4 that I'm given. And this link takes us to a random search, so let's go. Okay, so we have another binary counter, but this one's a sequencer. We also have a delay unit, a bit manipulator, and a VCO. So I think we can make something out of this. I don't completely understand what each of them are first, so I'm gonna look into the ones I don't get. Alright, so here are our modules for this episode. We have the Hora delay. It is a pretty standard delay unit. It has this interesting feature though of the buffer mode. So it'll tell the delay unit how to read the buffer. So it can either read it normally, so you'll get normal delays, you can get reverse delays, or you can get half reverse delays where it'll go forward, then backward. So that's pretty cool. Then we have the Sonus department bidder, which takes 8 bits of the incoming signal and allows you to manipulate each one independently. So with the switch up, we have it untouched, switch down, we have it inverted, and then center, we have muted or turned off. That's pretty cool. And then we have the CircleVCO, and this one is actually designed for oscilloscope music. So if we plug the sine and cosine output of it into the scope, you can see we have a sinusoidal wave that is out of phase by 90 degrees, and it's called the CircleVCO because if you turn the scope into X times Y mode, you get a circle. So you can get some interesting patterns by messing with the time knob, you can see, and the pitch will change things as well. Whoa. It's above my head why this happens in the oscilloscope. Math. That's all I'm going to say. It's just cool math. But we can also use this as a sound source because you can hear this. And then finally, we have the binary sequencer. So this is kind of similar to what I encountered in the first episode, which was a flip-flop toggle latch gate that could cascade, but it has a lot more control and it's kind of designed more to be a sequencer. Okay, so doing my best to explain what a binary sequencer does, you have a clock signal and then you have divisions of that clock signal right here. And this one's kind of interesting because we have attenuverters, which are volume knobs that go past 0 into the negative, which allow you to mix each division to varying proportions. And then you can also change the scale of the voltage of that. And you can use this lag knob to kind of slew between them. And you can also change the shape of that. So we have linear or logarithmic. One more feature of this binary sequencer is the sample and hold input. So you can input like an audio signal for this, for example, and it'll bypass this scale switch and it'll sample the voltage range of your incoming signal and then use the clock to sample that voltage. So that's pretty interesting. And we also have a gate output and a trigger output. So we have a lot going on here, but I think just by messing around, we can figure out something interesting. So I know I want the binary sequencer to control the pitch of the VCO, and we want to send the sine wave output into the bidder and then that into the input of the delay. We want the mix going to the output of the whole shebang. I want these cables to match. And let's also, just for fun, do this sine and cosine output to the oscilloscope so we have some pretty patterns going on. And I don't think this is the best oscilloscope we could use. The stock one is not as good as this one, so I think I'm just gonna Much better. So this is the X position, this is the Y position. What does this do? It's the scale of the X, that's scale of the Y probably. And, oh, rotation, okay. We don't want that. And time. Great, that is much crisper. Wow, that is beautiful. Once again, I don't know why this is happening like this. It has to do with math and sine waves and oscilloscopes and sine waves. Just gonna leave it to that mystery, and someone who knows more math will be able to explain it. But let's just start playing around with the binary sequencer. So my thought is, let's alternate the extremes of each of these knobs. And let's bring up the balance, which is the dry wet mix, so we can start to hear this. And the gain. Let's just do it completely dry for now. Let's turn down the range of these voltages. Let's do the smallest one. Wow, so that's pretty cool. We have arpeggiating. Are those diminished chords or augmented? And then let's bring in some delay. I have it in half reverse mode. Which for just a normal sine wave doesn't really do much else, do anything different than normal. Now let's start to mess around with the bits. Interesting. What if instead of inputting the sine into this, we do the ramp? And now every bit is disabled except 2. Let's only enable the even bits. And let's invert the odd ones. Let's go back to sine. Let's try cosine. Huh. This is pretty hypnotic, not gonna lie. Now let's start to mess around with these divisions. So something I noticed is you can actually randomize or initialize the division mix separately from the rest of the module. So let's just randomize it and see what happens. All right. Well, that's pretty cool. Also, I just noticed there are themes. I love plugins with themes. I'm going to do the Moonlight theme. So something I want to try is replacing one of the inputs on the oscilloscope with the delayed version, and then messing around with the time and the feedback. Wow. This is with just a constant sine wave as an input, nothing else. This is with half reverse enabled. Let's do fully wet. Fully halfway. Reverse. Alright, well I think I'm going to sign off here. This is a very interesting collection of modules, and it got me thinking about oscilloscope art, and I hadn't really considered that before. Ways to go from here would be adding a scale quantizer to the sequencer, adding LFOs to modulate. I mean, that's always an option for any patch, so also some reverb would sound really nice, and experimenting with adding some other input to the sample and hold of this binary sequencer. Yeah, so thanks for watching episode 4 of Random Modules. I will see you next time.